Hey everyone, today I'm going to offer you an invention that is going to change your life forever, and it comes in the form of these two magic doors. But before we get into that, let's talk about what makes normal doors so stupid and awful. Now, when the first door was ever discovered, it had its fundamental flaw, and it's that the gap is simply too small for incredibly clumsy people like me in order to get into. After a long time of inventing and researching, they found out that they could put two doors next to each other to increase the space in which you can walk through, but this has its own fundamental flaw. This fundamental problem comes in the form of the fact that there's two doors, which means that I have to click twice if I want to open it fully, and this is a disastrous waste of time and energy. Luckily though, in this great time of need, we've invented the perfect solution: the magic set of double doors. With the great power of questionably useful mechanics and incredibly stupidly overcomplicated wiring, we can solve this lifetime woe once and for all. Okay, jokes aside and over-embellishing over, let's talk about how this thing actually works. How can it detect that we're actually opening the doors? And why the hell is there so much noise? So the reason why these doors are so fundamentally special is that there's actually no visible detection mechanism. As you can see, they open and close, with no need for ugly observers on the floor or on the sides like some people have to do in order to create similar linked door mechanisms. But before I drag you into how that mechanism actually works, let's talk about a different mechanic, and this one is floating water. Basically, the gist of it is that when a sticky piston attempts to retract a structure of slime blocks, but it's being barricaded by an obsidian or something, it obviously can't move it. Yet, the piston is still going to retract anyways. If water happens to be resting on these sticky piston heads, it's actually just not going to flow into the gaps left behind. I don't know why it works, but all we know is that it does. Now, you might be reasonably asking, what the hell does floating water have anything to do with magic doors or detection systems? But I'll show you that in a moment. You see, here's the thing about floating water is it's really unstable. It doesn't like to be floating, and the moment that a block comes right next to it and reminds it that it needs to be flowing, it will start to flow. The thing is, we can actually change this water source to being a waterlogged slab, put a door on top of it, and well, now we have our detection system. Coming back to the magic doors, if we go ahead and create these unstable water sources directly under the doors, we can actually use it as a detection mechanism for our machine. So that's the gist of how it works, but now let's talk about why it makes so much noise, as well as why it's so fast. To learn how we speed up stuff like the detection system, let's go back to the water-based detector. Building off the ideas before, if we want to actually detect the door opening, we need to detect the water moving. And we can do this with a simple observer setup like so. As you can see, that works. But the problem is if we actually go ahead and do this, and freeze the game instead, open the door, and tick step 5 ticks into the future, the water has flown already. But the thing is it's actually going to take another 2 ticks of time before the observer actually notices. And that's because all observers have an inherent delay. So what exactly are we going to do? Well, we're going to put another object in an unstable state. By powering this piston and then using a lever to redirect the redstone, it's actually no longer being powered, but it hasn't noticed yet. This puts it in a similarly unstable state as the red water. Thus, that means the moment something touches it, it's going to retract. And if we go ahead and freeze the game, open this door, and tick step the same 5 ticks as we said before, it's actually going to immediately start retracting at the 5 tick level, instead of taking the 2 ticks of delay that the observer normally would have taken. This type of corner cutting is basically what we're going to be doing in order to shave off the time to as little as possible. And it's right now that I want to emphasize that this level of nitpickiness is totally necessary for projects like this, because it really makes the difference between whether or not you're going to step through that door or bash your face on the other one. Alright, next on the list we've sort of got the details, which I'm going to go through really quickly because not everybody cares about that. Basically, if we look down here, these pistons are in an unstable state. As you can see, they're powered, but they're not actually extended, and the moment we remind them that by opening the door, they're going to switch states instantaneously. This is going to either depower or power this redstone line, which is directly interfacing with our door. The target blocks directly in front of me are responsible for changing the direction of this redstone. As you can see, it's pointing into it, and this is how we create those unstable states of this pistons. This entire back circuit actually is responsible for the performance of the glitch. As you can see, they're both facing these honey blocks right here, which are going to try and retract, but they're going to be blocked by that obsidian in the back here, and this is going to create the floating water that we absolutely need in order to make this mechanic work. Anyways, that's the machine. Now you get to have a loud, thundering machine underneath your doorstep, but at least you get to live with the glory of only having to click once when you want to open or close your doors. Anyways, this is about to be the start of the part of the video where I go on a little bit of a tangent addressing some of the shade that's been thrown at me from the calibrated skulk sensor fanbase. I'd also like to remind you that if you want to see more stuff like this, make sure to subscribe and, well, check out my other stuff, make a ton of stuff like this. And yeah, let's move on to that. Basically, a bunch of people are like, well, why don't you just use the calibrated skulk sensor? Because the skulk sensor, I complained about it because it's really weird, unreliable, and takes a lot of wool, and it's kind of annoying to work with, and the calibrated skulk sensor suffers from none of these problems. My problem with it, number one, is that it's new, and I don't like learning new components, but number two is that I literally don't have them. As you can see, they're not in the creative menu. They are part of update 1.20, and currently I'm on version 1.19.2 in the top left. The reason for this is I have a bunch of mods that allow me to slow down time, move blocks around, do a bunch of super useful stuff that makes designing stuff incredibly easy, but though a lot of those mods don't exist in 1.20. Now, this simple fact, coupled with the fact that I'm comically lazy, just means that you're not likely to be seeing a lot of calibrated skulk sensors in any of my future builds. But if you really want to see me do a video on them, or do something related with them, make sure to comment down below, or really comment down and tell me anything you want me to do, because I'll be there to read it. I also want to clear up that this door definitely pretty much sucks. I mean, it's heavily overcomplicated, incredibly noisy, and some observer methods are actually much faster than it. But the thing is that I just wanted something to do with that really clever mechanic of block update detection using floating water, and I thought it would be fun to work on this tiny mini project while I work on some of my other stuff. Anyways, now you've arrived at the end of the video. Once again, let me know if you like the new weather. I recently did a poll asking everybody, and basically the consensus was that the nighttime shaders were better, but I'm personally going to vary between nighttime and overcast because I want to appeal to the largest majority, which is like 80% of people. So let me know if there's any other suggestions regarding that. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see my other content, and I'll see you next time. Oh, also the reason why there's so much garbage everywhere, I don't know why I decided to do the filming in this world, but I just kind of did. Anyways, bye.